So today I wanted to talk about my experience visiting Omo Valley. Omo Valley is basically a short way of referring to the southern nations, nationalities, and peoples region in the southern part of Ethiopia. And I'm doing this because a lot of people on my Instagram had seen my posts from when I visited, and they had a lot of questions. Were like, where is this place? Who are these people? How did you get here? So in this video, I'm going to cover all of that. So first things first, how did I get there? I was living in Ethiopia for about 3 months and I was studying abroad. So this was kind of the last study abroad program that I did as an undergrad. If you're new to my channel, my name is Isokeno and I was a global studies major. Traveling is what I do. I'd basically been living in Ethiopia for 3 months and at this point, I had visited Lalibela, I had visited Shashamene, and I was just really wanting to go to Omo Valley. So the first thing I did was try to do some research. This is error number 1 that I made. I remember I had gone on like TripAdvisor. I had called someone and he was like, okay, yeah, sure, you can come this weekend. It's gonna be about 220. In my mind, I was thinking 220 birr, which is the Ethiopian currency. So 1 USD is equal to 33 Ethiopian birr. Long story short, I arrived in Arbore and my guide, Fitretu, he was like, do you have the money? And I was like, oh no, I don't have to get it out of the ATM. And I was like, yeah, it's like 220 birr, right? And he looked at me and I was like, no, USD, guys. It's 220 USD per day. At this point, I was just in my mind like, should I go back to Addis Ababa because I don't have that kind of money to spend per day. So basically, we had a conversation and I was just kind of like, you know, like I'm a student, I don't have that much money. Is there any way we can like work around the price? Because I was like, I'm already in Arbore, I can't turn back now. He ended up working it out. He was like, I'm too expensive to go on this trip with you, but I can give you one of my friends and it's just gonna be you and him in the car going on the trip because he was too expensive for me. So I was like, okay, sure. In total, I ended up paying about 15,000 birr, which is about 450 USD. So that's the first thing I wanted to highlight before I even get into this video. It is a very, very expensive trip. And the only reason I got that rate was because I was already there and he felt bad for me. And he was like, you know what, I'll help you out. Because basically the way the trip works is it's sold as like an all-inclusive. So you're going to pay for the car, which has to be a 4-wheel drive because of the roads and stuff. So you're paying for the Jeep, renting the Jeep per day. You're paying for your guide's time and explaining things to you, and with each village that you go to, usually they pay a guide in that village to like tell you about the place, and then you're paying for food and accommodation because it's all inclusive. So when you get there, they'll tell you, yeah, we're going to pay for your food and where you stay. So if you put everything together, it doesn't sound as bad, but it's still a very expensive trip, which would explain why a lot of Africans or people who don't have, you know, privilege can make the trip. Basically, long story short, I'm on the trip now, and the first thing I noticed about Arbore and just driving to the villages is everywhere is green. Hills, mountains, greenery, like it's just so beautiful. And then I also noticed a lot of banana trees. My guide and I had gone to one of their markets. It was their market day and basically got to see them like selling fruit, selling animals. And then we stopped to have like lunch in one of their like, I guess, restaurants. There's something we call it, but I can't remember the name. And so I had some of the food. There's some pictures in there. And while I was there, I think I definitely felt like I was being intrusive. in the sense that obviously this is not my culture and I'm coming here with my iPhone, recording people, taking pictures, and it just felt weird to me. But at the same time, they're used to it. Some of the villagers are quite used to it, and they'll even ask you to pay them money to take pictures with them. It's kind of, they know people are interested in how they're living and they're used to it. So I had to get over myself a little bit. The second thing I noticed was just kind of like, it's just so different. Like, you know, I'm hesitant to say that it felt like I was taking a trip back into history, because being a global studies major and having taken like anthropology classes, it's like you really have to be careful about how you think about people who are different from you and push back against this idea that lack of technology is the past, because clearly they don't use certain technology now, but they're in the present. So are they in the past? It's the same thing as this whole like first world versus third world country. We're all in the same world, first or third, but you know, being in an environment where everyone functions without technology, and it was eye-opening. That's the best way I can explain it. It was very eye-opening. At one of the markets, a lady actually pulled my hair. From the video and pictures, you can see that my hair was out. I think I had a braid out. And I was in the market just looking around at people, and this lady literally put her hand like this and pulled my hair. And I was like, huh? Like, did I do something to you? And she did it the first time. I didn't say anything. Then she came again and she did it the second time, and I looked at my guy and he was like, yeah, she's crazy. There's something wrong with her. But someone pulled my hair, and I think I'm going to make a video about how people have reacted to my hair in different countries, but that's a different story. We went to Hamar tribe. So Hamar tribe was actually where my guide was from, and I believe he wanted us to pick up his brother and bring his brother to Abraminch. So the first thing I noticed about the Hamar tribe was that their hair was red. So they have like the women have like red ringlets, and I believe that is made from like a red sort of powder, like sand, and some sort of like cow paste. Like it's like a paste gotten from cow milk, cow something, and they mix it together, and that's how they get the paste for their hair. I remember before I got to the Hamar tribe, I told my dad, I was like, I want to get the red paste in my hair, like I want them to do my hair for me. And he was like, okay. And then when you get there, you realize that the red paste has a really strong scent, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. But that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed was that they are very forward about asking you for money. If you're going to take their picture, you are going to pay them money. And I think it's because they're one of the main tribes that I visited the most, so they're just used to it. They'll really bring out their hand like this and be like, where's my money? As they should. If you're really out here coming to look at me, you might as well pay me. But at the same time, it just made me feel a type of way, like commodifying the way people live. I don't know, but let me get over myself. So anywho, I was invited into one of their huts, and this is where I got to meet some of the children. I was offered some of their food to eat. I think I was given like cow milk. I'll insert a video of that, and some sort of like food, like a drink to drink, but I decided against it just because anywhere I go, I'm like a picky eater, and I literally don't eat things that I don't know, so I didn't try it out. The mother of the family was just so like poised. I took some pictures of her, like and she was so willing to pose for me. At this point, I think this is when I started noticing that it wasn't just the fact that, okay, they live in huts and they don't have toilets and, you know, things that, you know, we're accustomed to in other parts of the world. There was just an absence of what we would consider like courtesy. And I don't think that's a bad or a good thing, but for me, it was just really realizing that they're very different sets of values. Okay, after that, I got to talk to some of the youth from the tribe. So remember how I said that my guide was from the Hamar tribe, and he wanted us to bring his brother to Arbore. So we picked up his brother, and his brother was around 16. And keep in mind, when I was on this trip, I was 19, so I wasn't that much older than his brother. And his brother basically was like, oh, where are you from? And I was like, I'm Nigerian, but I'm also American. And he was just kind of like telling me about Nigerian artists. He was telling me about Burna Boy. He was telling me about Wizkid. And then he was telling me how he wants to like be a musician, and he's going to go to Addis Ababa and like record in the studio. And it was just so interesting because up until this point, I felt as if there was a disconnect. And having this conversation with Miley, that's his name, I felt more like, okay, I'm starting to see the similarities between me and them. And I don't know, it was just refreshing. It was refreshing to know that he knew Nigerian artists. Like, I remember I was playing some music on my phone and he was singing along, and then he played some music on his phone and I was singing along. And then he actually sang for me. I'm gonna insert that video right now.
Baby, don't leave. Baby, give me that. Bamba. Give me that. Bamba. Get your life. Mama, get your life on. Hey.
And he was doing his own thing, and it was nice. My guide had said to me, he was like, you know, it's a good thing you visited now because there's more and more exposure to Western culture in these places, and a lot of people are deciding that they want to leave their communities and go to the cities. And I don't know, I don't think it's a bad or a good thing, but I just think it's something to note. And he was also like, they're building a university nearby, and you know, a lot of the young people are probably going to end up going to those universities. It just kind of was just something to note, right? That as much as I don't want their culture to be westernized, it's also like culture evolves and they can't be stagnant. And of course they're going to be curious the way I'm curious, and they're going to venture out. I'm talking about the younger people. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't, you should probably go visit now, because you never know, it might be different in 2 or 3 years. One thing I also noticed on the trip was the fact that it was just weird. Whenever they would see me with the guide in a 4-wheel drive, because that's how you know that people are coming to visit, are foreigners, they would shout Ferengi, Black Ferengi, Black Ferengi. And it was weird because Ferengi means foreigner. And I kind of felt like this doesn't make sense. The fact that, you know, they have to point out that I'm Black and a foreigner and they don't see this often. Where are the Black people visiting these places? The last tribe that I ended up visiting is called the Dorze tribe. And they're literally the epitome of sustainability for me, the way I experienced it. So they're basically situated in the Gamo Highlands. And the first thing I noticed when I was approaching the community was that, I mean, obviously they're in a mountain, like the highlands, and it's very, very misty. It's almost cloudy and it's cold, okay? It's very cold. But I met the guide, and basically everything is made of banana leaves, okay? Their houses are made of banana leaves, and their houses kind of look like beehives, but the way he described it to me personally was like, they kind of look like elephants. And it was just so interesting. Like, I went inside, they showed me where they keep their livestock, they showed me their instruments. Actually, he played something for me. That was fun. So in this community, the women basically are spinners, and they're the cooks, they're basically everything. And then the men are weavers. So they weave and they make beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scarves. I wish I had mine with me right now, but my scarf that I got from there isn't with me. But I actually tried spinning. Like, I tried spinning the cotton the way the woman was, and I failed miserably. But yeah, I mean, it was just weird because everything they use, like even their bread is made from banana leaf. It's called concho, I believe, and it's made from false banana leaves. I mean, it's called false banana bread. But yeah, I also remember in Dorze, they tried to make me take shots and they succeeded. It was like a group of men looking at me and they were like, okay, so now you're going to try our local drink. And it was like, all right, let's go. I took one shot. They were like, you need to take another one. I took another shot. And let me tell you, naturally, I don't like hard liquor. Like, I'm a wine girl. I love Prosecco. But you know, when you're in these types of places, you don't want to be rude, right? So they offered me the bread, which I saw them make from start to finish. And then they also offered me their local drink. So if you end up going to Dorze, they might actually try to get you drunk. So keep that in mind. And I believe you can actually spend, like, you know, like have a little retreat in the Dorze tribe. Like, they've made huts for visitors. And obviously you have to pay for it, but you can live in the huts and they're very pretty. I don't think I got a video of the inside, but I got a video of the outside. Yeah. And something funny that happened coming out of Dorze was, as you're going down the mountain, it's like a spiral, right? As you're going down the mountain, there were two boys who would just come and dance in front of the car. As the car is going and you see them dancing, they'll go back into they'll go away from the street into the trees and stuff. And I guess they have some sort of shortcut because obviously we're in a car, so you think we're moving quicker, but then you see them again at another bus stop, dancing. And it was so funny, like, yeah, it was just interesting. Like, I mean, kids are kids everywhere, right? So, yeah. And then the last tribe I want to talk about was the Arbore tribe. And this was the tribe that I really spent the most time with. Actually, I drove going to Arbore, like, because it's a very long road. There are no cars on that road. It's literally just grass on either side and a very long road. And so my guide was like, would you like to drive? And I was like, yeah, sure, I want to drive. And so you're gonna see me driving. First thing I noticed were the kids. The kids are always the first people to come and visit and come and like say hi. And out of the kids, there was actually this little boy who, okay, sorry, my camera cut off. But basically I had noticed that there was a little boy who was, I guess, special needs. And it just made me think about what sort of conversation do they have around, you know, differently abled people and, you know, mental disability and things like that. I also noticed that the girls here were just, and I'm saying girls because they were also, in my opinion, like teenagers or like preteens. They were just like in their element, like beautiful girls. I actually took a picture with some of them, and it's just weird being in a place where people are nude, like, and just, it's just weird. Like, even going with my guide, knowing that obviously he's a straight man, and just thinking, what is he thinking in his head? But at the end of the day, it's also like normalizing bodies and not feeling like a man can control himself because a woman's breasts are out. It's like, this is how they are. They don't wear anything up top, and that's just it. And you have to act right. You can't be out here acting dumb. So that was interesting. I also, again, gave my phone to people to, you know, play with. And actually, this woman was so curious because obviously I was recording and she was so curious and she wanted to see. So I did like a selfie type of video between me and her. And you can see her in the video, like, kind of like being surprised by the fact that she could see herself in my phone or on my phone. But yeah, it was just interesting. There's also like pictures of me in their houses and their huts. And yeah, I think Something that was also interesting was when I was leaving, the girls that I had spent like the time I was there with had asked me for soap. Obviously I looked in my suitcase to try like and find any soap that I had because I was leaving that day, so I didn't need it anyways. But yeah, it was just weird that they had asked me for soap. I was like, of all the things they asked for, it wasn't money, it was soap. I don't know, food for thought. Obviously soap to clean their body. Well, I think that's about it. I highly recommend everyone visits omovalley if they can, especially people of color. And yeah, I think towards the end of the video I'm going to insert some clips of just the environment and the people and things of that sort. But it was definitely one of my more eye-opening experiences. And I'm so blessed that they allowed me into their communities. And you know, overall I had a great experience. Traveling as a 19-year-old black solo person, you know, comes with its hiccups. So there was definitely a hiccup in this trip that I will be doing a different video about. But overall, I would rate this a 10 out of 10. Okay, but I'm gonna stop. An 8 out of 10. Yeah, do yourself a favor and visit omovalley if you can, and go with a buddy. One thing that I wish I had done is like I wish I had gone with someone else. But again, it's very expensive, so it's not everyone who can afford to go. But if you can, I would go with a buddy. That being said, if you have any specific questions about my trip, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer all of them. Also be respectful of these people and don't like comment anything stupid. I will delete it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.